Hey, you. You're finally awake.
I hate whiskey.
This one is a mixed bag, because on one hand I liked it, and on the other hand it feels incredibly unfinished, a bit rushed, and only taps the vein of a great game while never reaching it, and I don't know if more time would have saved this game, or if a sequel ever happens, they greatly expand on what this game does. I'll talk about the story towards the end, and I'll give everybody a spoiler warning, but to get the basics out of the way...
I'm listening.
Are you Edward Pierce? Private investigator contracted by the Wentworth Detective Agency?
That's correct.
You play Edward Pierce, a private eye from Boston with uncanny psychic abilities like being able to reconstruct crime scenes, and he also suffers from nightmares. Does this sound familiar to you guys at all? After waking up from a particularly awful dream, he gets visited by the father of famed artist Sarah Hawkins, who recently, along with her family, died in a house fire. Sarah is known for her macabre paintings. Edward takes the case to solve how she died because the dad believes the events surrounding Sarah Hawkins' death were more than a simple house fire. So Edward boards a ship and heads to the mysterious island of Darkwater, surrounded by possible pirates, and the investigation is underway. So with that out of the way, let's have a drink and take a swim in Call of Cthulhu. Development started with this one sometime around 2014 by Frogwares. Sometime around 2015 or 2016, Frogwares jumped ship to make their own original IP, The Sinking City, review right here, and Cyanide, makers of the Styx series, would basically pick up the pieces of Frogwares' game and finish it. Whether they scrapped everything and started over or continued from where Frogwares left off is uncertain, and I couldn't find any info on the actual dev process, and every interview during trade shows was just the devs blabbing about the basics of the story and how they implemented the RPG mechanics of the Call of Cthulhu tabletop game this is based around. There are a few things here that are probably leftovers of Frogwares' design if you've played The Sinking City, but it all feels unfinished, like I said, or cut, or changed. It's a bit of a mess. This game is totally a bit of a mess, but it's a tidy mess, if that makes any sense.
Yet you've served this man, and you can't say he's been on his best behavior.
He's a regular. It was you who provoked him by turning up with your mainland manner.
You mistake my manner. I ask nothing more than to become a regular as well.
Small dev hell aside, like a lot of Lovecraft games, there's cool ideas here, but a flawed execution, and while this isn't a remake or anything directly of Dark Corners of the Earth, review right here, there's a lot of nods to it, unless I'm crazy and seeing things that aren't really there, which could be the possible. And I'd argue it has a slightly better narrative than Dark Corners, though Dark Corners' story isn't bad either. Okay, let's get into this thing that makes video games with its gameplay. So as stated earlier, you play Edward Pierce, a psychic detective. You explore areas, gather information and clues, and are able to magically reconstruct crime scenes. This is an RPG, so you get skill points that you can put into a few abilities that change how the game plays, and this is our first hiccup with this game. Call of Cthulhu, the official video game, is based around the tabletop of the same name, Call of Cthulhu. And with tabletop games and a bunch of other RPGs, you are beholden to the Elder RNG gods, aka dice rolls. You could put your points into strength, for example, and easily break into something, or you could put 0 points into strength, basically, and try breaking the thing 100 times, and eventually you'll get it, or you could find a way around with lockpicking or something else. Spot Hidden, another example, is literally just to find collectibles. I've never played the tabletop RPG despite owning it, so if Spot Hidden or any of these other skills are better handled in the official tabletop game, let me know, because all of these RPG mechanics feel kind of pointless, especially with how this game plays out overall. I invested mainly in speech, investigation, and strength, thinking it would mean something more. It really only came in handy, if that, in a few conversations and maybe like 2 areas off the top of my head where being buff actually mattered. The RPG stuff feels incredibly watered down, and there's not enough instances for any of it to really matter, because this is the big problem with this game, is that Call of Cthulhu is basically a narrative-driven walking simulator. A few choices that, like a lot of Lovecraft games, hardly affect the ending of this game in particular. It's about the journey,
Again?
not the destination. The destination is really cool, and I really loved it, but the journey there, with so few changes being so linear, they might as well have taken the skill points and RPG stuff out altogether.
Your manifests have been blacked out. They're totally unreadable.
Yeah, I saw that. I've got no idea who did it or why. I don't remember having countersigned anything special enough for someone to hide it.
And why obliterate the dates, as well as the goods stored in the warehouse?
You mean that the dates have some meaning?
I'm surprised Charles Hawkins had goods to store, knowing that whaling stopped in 1847.
You have conversations throughout, and depending on what answer you choose, only slightly changes the way the conversation goes, and rarely changes the outcome. You can lock yourself out of this or that depending on if you read this book, or choose this answer, or don't find a clue, and at the end of the day, it's really only what you choose to do. This game took me about 10 hours, and I think it's 10 hours well spent because I did enjoy the story here. It's just a shame it's so linear, because this is based on the tabletop of the same name. This also feels like a scenario you play from the tabletop, but the DM has it all written down and is refusing to alter the path this story he or she has meticulously spent weeks writing up, hoping the players around the table would just accept it and literally roll with it.
Has the cat got your tongue?
You've come for a fight. What I've got to say won't change a thing.
You're a quick learner.
Someone must really hate Charles Hawkins.
I told you. Silas Winchester is still watching over the Hawkins family.
I must say, it's pretty gloomy.
So, Detective, does this place inspire any thoughts?
Do you know if Charles Hawkins had any enemies?
Not to our knowledge. He was a well-respected personality on the island.
The writing here is good, and like I said, I was invested in this narrative, but simply knowing nothing really changes does make the dialogue choices pretty much pointless, in my opinion. If you all disagree with me, that's fine, but I can't see a silver lining here, unfortunately, and if you do, please let me know down below. I could be missing something completely and getting all of this wrong, but this is just my experience. Reconstruct crime scenes, but much like The Sinking City, I feel this was a leftover from it. All it is showing off what happened and then your character explaining it all before leading you on to the next story beat. It looks cool, and it is cool in concept until you realize everyone can do it. So is it really a supernatural thing, or is it a logic thing? Do the other characters that are also reconstructing areas simply using their brains? Is it a psychic phenomena? It's never explained, and if it is, then I totally missed it. When it comes to Lovecraft games like this one, you very often have a sanity meter, and apart from Eternal Darkness, it's always done poorly. Here is no exception. Can affect the ending, but chances are, unless you are going out of your way to lose sanity, you won't drop it hardly ever. You have the annoying visual effects that come with a modern sanity that I personally blame Dark Corners of the Earth for, as well as Amnesia, only cementing this really annoying version of a sanity system. So can we just stop it, please? Nintendo sadly patented the Eternal Darkness sanity system, so if you're wondering why none of these games ripped it off wholeheartedly, there is your answer, because you legally can't, and it's really, really stupid. Future devs, if you are going to do something or some version of a sanity system in your game, either simply don't do it at all or create something completely new and innovative. Send me to another time period, pull a Randolph Carter and send me to another dimension for a second instead of this annoying visual crap. Nobody likes this, and plenty of people have let it be known, especially with the Amnesia series. There's also some really annoying puzzle elements, I say that very lightly, that feels like they were just there to pad the already short-ish length of this game, but those are whatever for me at this point because there's only about 2 or 3 of them.
The control wheel is missing. I used to be an avid reader. The Wentworth Agency doesn't attract top-notch cases. This man and Fitzroy could be twins. What a macabre souvenir.
Sonically, the music works. It's just as moody as all these other Lovecraft games I've been covering. There's some tense tracks, there's some great ambience, and the visuals, as they should, tie it all together. Voice acting here is top-notch. Anthony Howell, who plays Edward here, has a voice like velvet. You might know him from Vampire from a couple of years ago, or Margit from Elden Ring. You also have a lot of veteran voice actors here, so that's a plus. Trust me, you've heard everyone here before, and the solid voice acting is really what sells this story, as it should.
I see no scorched trees or fire damage on the building.
You're pretty damn observant, ain't you? The fire was quickly contained. Old Silas acted as soon as he could.
Not soon enough to save the Hawkins.
They were trapped in the drawing room. And don't go troubling Silas anymore.
Green is basically Lovecraft's signature color, and they use that associated green to its full potential here. I know some dislike the visuals here, but I like them. It's half weird photorealism, but also that Dishonored oil painting style going on. Like 100% one-to-one, this is just Cthulhu Dishonored. It goes with the theme of paintings being a core part of the narrative, no complaints. There's issues like film grain and other pointless visual effects that other reviewers complained about, but as a blind man, whatever they were didn't bother me. Besides the sanity stuff, it could have been worse though. Just turn down the brightness, set the FOV to whatever works for you, but turn off motion blur and anything else you don't like. Games feel they need to try and pull off this movie effect thing, and I don't know why we're still doing it. Chances are none of you out there like that stuff anyway, so you'd probably turn it off already. I really wish developers would just stop putting stuff like this all together in games. Motion blur, depth of field, chromatic aberration are the things that 90% of people turn off when they're playing games, so why are you even including it in the first place? There are some cool set pieces here, and each environment is pretty, but you better get used to the green because it never goes away. I suspect it might have to do with the story, which brings us to our narrative.
It's a reminder of the time when we were still fishing for whales off Darkwater Island.
I've never heard this song before.
Only people from here know it. It tells the story of the miraculous catch.
Alright, this is your spoiler warning for the narrative. I will say I enjoyed this one, despite it being so cookie-cutter Cthulhu at this point. The writing is pretty solid. It all kind of comes together in the end, but you also have so much that they just throw at you and then they forget about completely and they never bother to explain it or come back to it. Alright, timestamps are down below for everything to go to your desired location of what I'm going to talk about, but this is the narrative, so skip to the end if you want. You can go to the timestamps down below or go right here. As we've established before, Edward Pierce, nightmares, psychic detective, really cool office, sent to Darkwater to solve the mystery surrounding Sarah Hawkins, a famous painter's death. Once we step onto Darkwater, we get an instant Shadow over Innsmouth vibe, and like The Sinking City, this feels almost like a Lovecraft cinematic universe, only less expanded than the former. Lots of themes from different stories pop up, lots of character introductions. It's a good introduction to this game, and it comes full circle in the end, but more on that in a minute. So after talking with the locals, we finally make our way to the Hawkins mansion and snoop around after meeting the elderly groundskeeper, who we never see again. Exploring the mansion, we already sense something is a bit off. We come across a strange room where Sarah might have been performing a ritual of some sort before heading into the attic and chasing after some intruder.
Stop!
This leads us to the depths of the mansion, in an underground cave that, yes, is the exact same one from our nightmare from the prologue. We stumble upon a cult performing a ritual, as well as a painting of ourselves. And then we die. But it's okay, because we survive anyway, and so does Barney. We wake up in the Riverside Institute. How long we've been there is unknown. We meet Dr. Fuller, our mad scientist, voiced by one of the bad guys from Indiana Jones. It's actually really cool. We escape the Institute, investigate the widow of an art collector that we found in the Institute. We find one of Sarah Hawkins' paintings, The Shambler, and it turns out her paintings are real, because of course they are. We run into the local bookseller, who will help us with this mystery. We head back to the asylum, find Sarah, who is alive the entire time, run into her husband, who weirdly looks like Edward anyway. I think it's a doppelganger thing. We do one of the most annoying parts of the game where we play as Sarah and have to stop the Shambler. Eventually, there's a zombie outbreak, and we wind up on the shores of Euclidean geometry as we hear the titular Call of Cthulhu and either summon him or don't. The long and short of it is, Everyone of the town is part of the Cult of Cthulhu. There was this miraculous catch in 1847 that saved the town, but that catch was actually an ancient entity known as Leviathan, one of the children of Cthulhu. Pierce and Barney, who actually died in the cave, were brought back by Leviathan's blood having restorative powers, i.e. Herbert West Reanimator. Captain Fitzroy and others were all part of this miraculous catch of Leviathan. They eat his flesh to stay immortal, but it has the side effects of turning everyone into a zombie once the world is coming to an end. Pierce, after our choices throughout, can either stop the ritual and get locked up, have Sarah kill herself, he kills himself, or, the coolest ending, you actually call Cthulhu and he answers.
Sometimes that happens.
Arguably the most appropriate, but I got the stop the ritual ending first where I go insane, and then the other best ending, if you really want to call it that, is Sarah killing herself and Pierce is just depressed in the end, couldn't save her. Much like all of Lovecraft, it's really bleak stuff. This is as much of an abridged version I could give without doing a full Call of Cthulhu Explained video, but there's also loads of unanswered questions. It's like they have all of these setups and then they never go back to it. Why introduce this bookseller if he's only in it for 5 minutes who can stop the ritual? Why couldn't we figure out how to do it, especially if the literal occultism is a skill we can invest in? What's up with Barney? Why introduce Kat, the mob leader, if you aren't going to do anything at all with her? It goes on and on and on of setup and then zero payoff. Introduction, and then we never hear from it again. The writing is solid, but because it feels incredibly unfinished, apart from the explanations of the cult and Leviathan, it falls a bit flat. I could rant about this forever, but let's actually wrap this thing up, shall we? In conclusion, I liked Call of Cthulhu. It's cool we finally get a kind of RPG. It's cool we finally get a kind of RPG-like here, but in my opinion, this is far from the best Lovecraft game ever made. That honor is still held by Eternal Darkness. I got this for free a while back, so price-wise, I'd say 10 hours or so is a fine price for the base of $20. But this does go on sale a lot during all the Steam events for like $5, maybe even cheaper, and there's no reason not to pick this up. And of course, if you are a HPL nerd like me, you probably already have. Next up is something actually scary, but it'll take a bit as I have to muster up the bravery to binge this entire series. So with all of that said, I've been Calypso. If you like this video, like this video. If you dislike this video, and I will see you in the next one. What did you think of Call of Cthulhu? Have you played it? Did this review turn you off from playing it? Are you gonna play it? Let me know down below. What's the best Lovecraft game in your opinion? And I'll see you in the next one.
Don't forget, some things mustn't be forgotten. The shadow hunting me. I must hurry. My name is Daniel. I live in London at Mayfair. What have I done? This is crazy. Don't forget. Don't forget. I must stop him. Focus. My name is... I am Daniel.